Hey all. Honestly, I wasn't sure how to properly approach this topic. Guess it's best to start that I just couldn't fit everything into one video and this is part 1 out of I don't know how many. If you're watching this, I'm guessing that you have a digital modeler or that you're planning to get one. And of course you're interested in getting a better sound out of it. And you're maybe aware of the fact that there is something out there marketed as impulse response packs or just impulse responses. And you think that maybe there's something better out there for you. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. So to get the first thing straight right out of the gate, the factory cabinets you have inside your digital modeler are already an impulse response. Now, depending on which unit you have, you often have the ability to control the behavior of those impulse responses. Inside the Pod Go, inside many other Line 6 products and many other digital modelers in general, you can often change these options. You can change the mic that's being used. You can change the distance that mic has in relation to the speaker. You can change the amount of low end you're gonna hear, the amount of high end you're gonna hear, and you can, in this case, dial in some early reflections, which is technically the liveliness of the room. Now, on the other hand, when you load an impulse response, you get all of these settings already baked in. Yes, we still have some slight control over this impulse response, but that's the sound you're stuck with. That's the sound of this particular cabinet, and that's it. How much a cabinet or an impulse response affect the sound, well, you'll see in the videos that will follow, but I'm sure that you all know how the speaker is super important when it comes to color and shape of your guitar tone. But guess what? Every part of that chain is super important. The microphone, the speaker that you're gonna use, distance of the mic in relation to the speaker, as I already said, and of course the room where the speaker is located will have a massive impact on your sound. But there's one thing that I want you to wrap your head around first. It's your job to embrace this really heavy task and travel back to future if you want to manipulate the factory cabinets. If you decide to do this, you're not only a guitar player, you turn into an audio engineer that's constantly monitoring the sound coming from the speakers, or the sound coming from the headphones, or the sound coming from an FR, or whatever it is. Now, this is a very dynamic process, but it's a good thing that you have the control over its intensity. So, advice number 1, don't try to compare more than 2 or 3 things at once. When I say things, I mean either factory cabinets or impulse responses. You'll often hear people say that exploring impulse responses is a rabbit hole. Because when you get an impulse response pack, you get hundreds of files, and it's really hard to decide which one of them sounds best. And of course, that's a rabbit hole. I think it's saying that anyone could process that amount of new information to process and compare hundreds of files, which are in essence hundreds of different sounds. But if we take into account how many combinations are possible inside the modeler, like the Line 6 Pod Go, I'm sure everyone would agree that this is madness as well. There's more than 30 cabinets here, and there's more than, I don't know, maybe 20 microphones. And when you combine the number of microphones and you try to experiment with the distance and the early reflections, that's an insanely high number of sounds you're gonna get from just one cabinet. So in the next part of this video, I'm gonna deal with factory cabinets and impulse responses. And I'm gonna help you deal with this madness. I'm gonna share what are my favorite cabinets from the Pod Go. I'm gonna tell you why I actually prefer using impulse responses, and share one crucial mindset that I think everyone has to embrace if they don't want to go deep into that rabbit hole. And that's it for part 1. I'll see you in the next one. Bye all.